Hey guys, welcome to the extended episode of Coffee in the Chat, episode 3. Welcome to the extended.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Okay, listen, guys, as we talked about in our podcast show, we were talking about how people are just kind of flouting the rules now, ever since the pandemic. They're claiming COVID exhaustion and they don't want to do this anymore, yada, yada, yada.
Right.
So, like we were talking about, like, Australia had really taken aggressive action to
Yes.
deal with it, and it wasn't please and thank you. You need to do this. It's like we said. It was you're doing this. This is what we're doing.
Right.
This is how it has to happen. And if you don't do it, there's repercussions.
Right. They would actually fine you, or you could go to jail, I believe.
And people said, "Okay, we will toe the line."
And if you think about it, it is ongoing. I
Yeah.
mean, in Australia, in the beginning of the pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
they pretty much locked the entire country down, or at least kind of like we did here. But they actually opened up quicker
Of course.
in a way, like, because people did stay home. I mean, they literally had to stay off the streets, or
Yeah.
if you had to go for medical or groceries or something, you had to prove why you were out.
Exactly.
That hasn't been the case here. And now they basically what they're doing is locking not the entire country down, but pockets where they see outbreaks. So,
yeah.
like, I think there was one in Sydney not that long ago, and like Melbourne, Brisbane, and all that. So they would just lock
Those areas down.
and they literally would lock it down. I mean, they'd have roadblocks, so you couldn't go out, you couldn't go in, so you couldn't, like, here, majority of Ontario is opening up.
Yes.
It back into like a color coded framework.
Mm-hmm.
So except the GTA and I believe North Bay,
We are
Bay
in.
Perry Sound area. So we're still in a stay at home order. So which means complete lockdown still.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, businesses could do pickup, delivery, or curbside pickup for
Yes.
like small businesses.
As we've been doing for like ever.
Better part of a year.
Exactly.
Really. But what they did is everything was shut down. Like,
Yeah.
nothing could open except like grocery stores and pharmacies, of course. And people were following the rules, and they still are. And so then when that let up, they could go back to normal, basically.
Exactly.
But see, that really hasn't 100% been the case here. And because we were talking about that in the beginning of the pandemic, almost a year ago,
Yes.
people weren't out. I mean, we would go for walks. We were allowed to do that. I mean, I know there's been a lot of people saying if a stay-at-home order means literally stay at home. Don't go out, and you're breaking the law if you do. I've seen actually a few other YouTube videos that have said that.
Yeah.
That's not what it means. It means you can go for exercise. So if you have to go for a walk, you can do that. If you have to go grocery
Exactly.
shopping or whatever, you can do that. You can go to a restaurant, pick it up. What they mean by stay at home, don't go to people's houses and socialize.
Yeah.
Don't have parties. Don't, like, any of that kind of stuff. But it's almost contradictory. And I see why people are having trouble believing what the government is saying, because it's a little on the contradictory side, because at one point they're saying don't socialize with anyone outside your household. And then in the second breath, they're saying you could have outside visits of up to 5 people. So, which is it?
Which is it? It's like you were saying. It's like you can't change the rules midway through.
Well, see, that's kind of been the beginning. That's how it's been from day one.
Oh.
And I think that's part of the problem,
Yeah.
is why people aren't trusting it. And plus, now you're also seeing politicians actually flout the rules. We had
The finance minister.
finance minister went off to Florida or
And-
wherever it was. No, somewhere. And, and it's like, hello, nobody else go. You're telling us to stay home, and here you are flying away on a trip.
And he tried to say that, I wasn't being duplicitous, but if you were to look at his social media, it was, he had a video shot from at home.
Yeah,
wishing,
like he was sitting in his living room. Sure.
And now you're looking at the public saying, I wasn't up to any sort of shenanigans.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, because I'd heard, and somebody released, I don't know who did, but they released a Zoom call, because, you know, the ministers all are supposed to be meeting on Zoom. Well, one of the Zoom calls that he was supposed to be part of, he had the background, I think, of his office. You could tell it was a Zoom office. Now, that's not the problem. The problem was you could hear ocean waves in the background. And so one of them said, did you suddenly move your house to the beach? You know? So that was, I think, one of the first clues that he actually wasn't in Canada. Now, I know some people are saying, and this is true, technically he didn't break the law, because you are technically allowed to still travel. Now, you're supposed to only travel for essential reasons. So, for example, if, say, you're in Canada and the States, and the borders are supposed to be closed.
Exactly.
Except essential travel. So that means, like, trade distribution, and people who work, like, who live in the States, who work here, vice versa, and, or... for example, say you have parents or somebody who live in the States or here, and say they're sick, and on compassionate grounds, you're allowed to visit them, that kind of thing. Now, however, people are doing more than that, and they're actually traveling for vacations, because technically Florida and that, they are still welcoming people.
Yes, they are.
And there's also the loophole. They'll turn you away at the ground, like round land crossings, but they will not do so in airports. So you fly into the States or here, you're allowed in.
What a catch-22.
Exactly. So technically, he's not. They weren't breaking the law, but it's the problem becomes. It's a do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah. So
that's why people aren't listening to them anymore, because they're doing this. They're flouting it. Like even Doug Ford, Mother's Day. If you guys remember this, he told everybody, "Don't go visit your mom. Stay home." Blah blah blah. What did he do?
He went and saw.
He went, or his daughters came
to the house.
To his house. You know, and I mean that's the problem. You know, so they're doing things that they're telling us not to do.
Exactly.
You know?
And so it's like, that's why we're still in this situation.
Right.
Because our government's flouting the rules, but then they're telling us in a ham-handed way, please, 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 you know,
don't do that.
Don't do that.
Do as I say, don't do as I do.
You did it.
Right. So they're like, what's good for you is good for me.
Exactly.
And plus, I mean, I get it. It gets tiring just staying home.
For sure.
There's not much to do.
For sure.
You know? And you're seeing, especially now, because a lot of the other areas of Ontario have been allowed to reopen again.
Yes.
Like most of them are in the red zone, which is still. I mean, there's still some things closed, but they can go to the gym again. They can have indoor dining again. We can't have that yet, and some of these regions aren't that far from us.
No.
So.
Like especially like in Toronto.
Well, Toronto is closed, but yeah, like they're close to Durham. They're the next region over, really. So Durham and York's allowed to open. So I mean, that's literally right next door. So, and even Milton to Peel is right next door. So you know, and like Halton's open, which is right near us too. So I mean, it's easy, and a lot of people are doing it. They did it at Christmas, and they'll do it again because they're sick of being in lockdown. So, and I know that a lot of the regions are saying, "Don't come here."
Yeah, we want to see you, but wait till this is
done,
all.
Wait till it's safe to do so. And you know, you almost have that. I'm sure you guys do. You get that kind of jerk reaction, knee-jerk reaction, like, "Oh yeah," you know, you don't want us to come there. I mean, there's a lot of people in the GTA. There's like 14 million people in the GTA. There's about 6 million alone in Toronto. And so, I mean, not everybody's infected, people. Relax. No. But, you know.
Well, like you were saying, it's that, well.
But it's that knee-jerk reaction. Like, it's like, okay, fine. Then don't come here when we're open, kind of thing. Because don't come to a Blue Jays game. Don't come to the lake. And because where we are, we're in Mississauga. It's a heavy populated, like, tourist area, too, because we're like...
Heavy waterfront,
we have a better waterfront than Toronto does, so they come here, and it gets packed. So you almost get that gut reaction. Well, then don't come here when we're open.
Exactly.
Stay where you are. But then you logically think, you understand why they're saying it.
Exactly.
You understand they're trying to protect their own region.
Yeah.
Some regions have done much better than the GTA
of course.
has. So I get it. And we're trying to support our own local businesses. There's only so much you can do, and you can't really go in and shop.
That's it.
So.
And it's disheartening when you see your area in which you live.
And you see stores closing, left, right, and center.
Like, we walked one of the main thoroughfares here in our area, and we counted,
about 19 stores
businesses
that are no longer there anymore.
They're gone. Because of this, and because of the attitudes and mindset of people not wanting to
follow the rules, really.
Abide by the rules.
I mean, we just had this discussion yesterday with a friend of ours about, a lot of people are saying, it's give the little guys a chance, the little businesses a chance, and close the big box stores for a while, because they don't need the profits and all that kind of stuff, and and it's killing the small businesses, but you're allowing the big business. Well, how come you can have so many in the big business, but I can't in a small business? How come that's okay and this isn't?
Well.
Yeah, I get it. I understand why they're doing it.
Yeah.
So, it's like a double-edged sword a little bit here.
Mm-hmm.
So, big businesses, say, for example, Walmart, Costco, or Metro, which is a grocery store here if you're not from Canada, or Loblaws is another grocery store. So, they're huge
employers.
I'm just talking at this
sorry.
point. This point, we'll get to that in a minute. They're huge buildings.
Yes.
You're talking hundreds of thousands of square feet.
Mm-hmm.
Even for a Costco. They're big, and Walmarts are massive. There are some smaller ones, but most of them are well over 100,000 square feet. So you can actually space it out. Now, a lot of people say, 500 people. There's not 500 people who've been there. It's not 500 people.
No.
It's not. It may seem like it. They may be outside in the line, but they're not inside. But they've actually been done. I give them this. They're actually pretty good at controlling how many people go in. Our Metro is very good at controlling, and they're strict about it.
Yes.
So, and everybody has a mask. I think I've maybe seen one person without a mask on in a store. So
yeah, it's pretty rare here.
Here it is. You might see it where you are, but it's fairly rare here. So, and again, you'll say, well, that's still quite a few people in a big box store.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you're right. But you're still talking 100,000 square feet. You can separate. People aren't in the same... You're not having 20 or 30 people in one aisle. So, usually.
No.
And if you are, well, that's ridiculous. But even on a good day.
No.
So, now you got small stores. They have less than half the space that a Walmart does.
Mm-hmm.
You can't fit the same amount of people in that store. No. Granted, they typically don't have that many people visiting them anyway. So, you would think, well, then how come I can't? I don't have normally hundreds of people. I usually have one or two people. Again, you're right, but this is the reasoning. Because when Walmart sells groceries, a mom and pop store, they might sell groceries. Well, then you should actually be exempted, should be allowed to open because you're a grocery store.
Exactly.
So you should be open if you're a market.
Mm-hmm.
Our markets are like small markets and convenience. They're open. You're allowed to shop in them because they sell food. Mm-hmm. But if you sell jewelry and things like that, well, that's considered non-essential.
Yeah, that's like a luxury item.
And, granted, you probably aren't going to have hundreds of people. So, yes, I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really get the reasoning why people can't shop in the store, because most of the stores around here don't have hundreds of people in them.
No.
So, yeah, I'm with you on that. But I'm saying I understand the reasoning why they did that.
Yes.
Space-wise. Because I'm just going by here. There's a lot of smaller stores that do have a lot of people.
Yes.
But maybe not hundreds. Then you get to, like you were talking about, employees.
Mm-hmm.
All the people who are saying, shut down the big box stores, give the little guys a chance. Well, here's the thing. Little guys don't employ hundreds, if not thousands of people.
That's the problem.
In their stores. Big box stores do.
Yes.
Take one Walmart. You've got hundreds of employees in that one store. Just one. They have thousands of stores across both states, the United States and Canada, right across the country. There's that you multiply that, you've got hundreds of thousands of employees.
So look at the size of the workforce you're putting on the shelf.
And that's just the store.
Yes.
So you close them. Now all those people are on CERB and or EI, which is taxpayer money. And people are already complaining that we're paying out too much to taxes and all that kind of stuff. Well, that now you got thousands more people on it because they need to support themselves.
Exactly.
And they don't. They only make minimum wage.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of money.
No.
So then, gotta look beyond that.
It's the chain.
Now you've got the chain. The trucking industry supplies these stores. If they're shut down, there's no need for truck drivers to be supplying them. They get laid off.
Exactly.
Then the distribution channels. You've got big distribution centers who also employ thousands of people in each distribution channel.
Yes.
Well, you don't need them anymore.
Nope.
They only, like, small stores only buy really small amount from these stores. The bulk of their business comes from the big box stores.
Exactly.
Well, now you're laying off more people, and so on and so on. Then that affects manufacturing.
Yes.
So again, they're laying off because they're not making as much. So I mean, if you look at the bigger picture here, you're actually putting more people out of work
Yes.
if you shut the big box stores down than you would if you just shut the small stores down. Now, like I said, I agree. I don't really get why the small stores are closed because they don't have. I mean, I get it size wise. They can't space as well as a big store can, but you know, it doesn't make a lot of sense when they actually don't typically have a lot of people in their stores at once, anyways. But that's why they do it.
And this is where we find ourselves, where we've lost a lot of mom and pop shops, you know,
and probably will lose more.
And
like we're saying, which really goes back to what the initial point of the conversation is if people are flouting the rules. Like we said in the beginning of the pandemic, there was nobody around.
Yep.
Like you barely saw cars
exactly
in our area. And now it's like back to normal. You're seeing people skating on the river, and you're seeing people tobogganing like hundreds, you know, because there's nothing else to do.
Yeah.
You know, and stuff like that. And I get it. You want something to do. It's boring sitting at home. We're bored sitting at home all the time.
We totally understand that, but...
And I get it's easier to social distance outside. But what we saw, just personally what we saw... They're not distancing that much.
No.
You know, and you can't because there's not a lot of space.
No.
You know, in some of the places that they're going to.
And it's like, and heaven forbid you say to somebody like, hey, look, you know, you can't be here or you can't be doing this.
Right.
Because people are becoming more and more aggressive about this.
Oh, like there's been people, like, I don't know if it's happened here, but I know in the States, yeah, I think it has happened here. There's been times when people have actually been stabbed because somebody told them to wear a mask. Well, like I think it was here. They're in a grocery store, a little like convenience store. I don't know if it was the owner who's older, and there's like, I don't know if they're teenagers, I think they were.
Yeah.
And they were told to wear a mask, and they literally beat him and dragged him out of the store. Is that necessary?
See, it boggles the mind. It boggles the mind that this is where we're at. We've allowed ourselves to...
Just don't go to the store then.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not your rights. Like, that's something that we hear a lot.
Oh,
is people are saying it's their rights. Our rights are getting taken away, and it's the Great Reset and the New World Order and all that kind of stuff. And they're trying to crash the economy, and that's the reason why a lot of people are not doing it. But you know, when you're going to actually onto private property, you actually don't have rights of privilege.
Yeah.
And that's actually protected by law. Look it up if you don't believe me. Here in Canada it is, and I'm pretty sure it's the same with the States. They do have the right to not serve you. It's
exactly
their world. they can control it. So if you come in, you don't have a mask or whatever, I mean, you see no shirt, no service, no shoes, no service. Why are you okay with that? And you agree with it,
Yeah.
but if someone asks you to wear a mask, you're not okay with that.
Exactly.
So, I mean, it's just like you said, it's one thing of flaunting the rules. Like, oh, you can't tell me what to do because that's my right to not wear a mask. Well, technically, it's not, because you're actually on their property. If
Of
on your own
course.
property, you could do whatever you want, really. But not, I mean, that's their store. So they actually can tell you you have to wear a mask. Now, not all stores are actually enforcing it that well.
No.
But some are.
And we have seen that. So
Yes.
there's an inconsistency in that enforcement issue.
And because they're leaving it up to the stores to enforce. So
Yeah.
not, like, unless you call, say, bylaw officer or the police.
And say something, yeah.
A lot of people in stores aren't going to enforce it. Although, I mean, granted, most people are doing it. But we have seen a couple. Like, there was one time with Tim Hortons, which is a coffee shop here. There was a lady who went in, she forgot her mask, and it depends on what manager is there. And they basically told her, "Get out, you don't have a mask," and she got all upset and went off on them. Well, technically, it's your fault. It's the rules, and they have every right to do it.
And like, these Tims have it right at eye level.
Oh, they do. It's big sign.
Right in your face.
Big sign. But a lot of people will ignore it and go in anyway.
And this is it. This is, like we're saying, this is where we're at now. Like, people are just not
following the rules.
And it's creating that bad cycle of behavior, because the kids see it the families, the parents aren't doing it, so why should I follow the rules?
Right. Well, see, that's even another discussion. Is you see a lot of kids and teenagers roaming around, and have since the beginning. I mean, even back when you didn't see too many other people, you saw a lot of teenagers, especially teenagers,
exactly,
hanging out with their friends. I get it. Parents either working at home at the time and they needed a break from their kids, all that kind of stuff, But the problem is, well, now they're hanging out with their friends.
Yes.
And what happens if their friends are sick and now they've transferred, or someone in that family, and now they're transferring it to you, that kind of thing. And that's how it's spreading.
Exactly. It's by you not following the rules, your child's not following the rules, then it just...
Or you're not making your child
follow the rules. And let me clarify that. And here we are. We're in this situation where everyone's just kind of thumbing...
And that's a direct result of why we're locked down.
Yeah.
It's not hard to understand that if people social distance, didn't hang out, and like you were talking about, the storage sheds, or the storage lockers, and having parties of 100 people with no masks. I mean,
it's a recipe for disaster.
And all this kind of stuff. I mean, it's spreading somehow, and it's because of that. And yeah, I get it. There's a lot of workplaces that are not complying that well either, and now they're doing more of a blitz on them.
Yeah.
But it's the whole thing.
Yes.
You can't keep just pointing the finger at the government.
No.
Because they can only do so much. Like, they actually could do more. They actually could. I mean, people think this is bad. Look at what the Emergencies Act could do.
Like...
if they actually invoked it. I mean, which they have not done. Which means they have total control, even over the provinces.
Exactly.
Right now, the federal government is allowing the provinces pretty much to mandate what they think is good and what works for them, and it seems to be working for most provinces. The Maritimes have done
remarkably well.
Some of the out west provinces, they've had their ups and downs, which they expected, but they're doing pretty well. The territories are doing pretty well. Ontario and Quebec seem to be, granted, were the most heavily densely populated provinces. So yes, of course, our numbers are going to be higher.
Of course.
But even so, we'll bring back Australia here.
Yeah.
They have 25 million people, 25 plus, almost 26 million people. And they're conquering it.
Yes.
So it can be done.
Japan has done the same.
Japan's done the same, and they also have a lot, pretty comparable to our, if not more than us, population. And they're also an island. Yes, I get they're an island, but they still have a lot of people, and they do get visitors still.
You know, and when it's, they're decisive when they close it down. It's bang.
Right, and they force it. But see, it's not I think maybe there's a misconception that it stays closed down.
No.
But it's not. And actually, their lockdowns aren't even as long as ours has been. I mean, this particular one started in November and it's still going on, at least till March. So that's, 4 months again?
Yeah.
They when they close down, it's about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That's it. And then they're back open and they go back to their lives, go out to dinner, and they can go visit their families. And then as soon as another 1 or 2 or whatever, not just 1 or 2, but like a few cases come up, they shut that area down for 2 weeks.
Yep.
That's it. And then they open it back up. We're doing months closed because people, I don't want to do this anymore. It's the Great Reset. And, you know, all that kind of stuff. I don't really know. I don't really get where that thinking came from. I don't think I heard it from anywhere except for people like on Facebook and stuff. I don't remember hearing it anywhere, why they think there's this Great Reset. But
and guys,
I don't know.
If you think the economy's crashing, we were out today because we're allowed to go for walks, and
or that's the goal, is to crash the economy.
The goal is to crash the economy. We passed a local gas station.
Yeah.
Gas was $1.21.
Yeah, almost 122.
Almost 122.
That's pretty high.
A liter.
Which means your oil and production is pretty high. And oil and gas is a big driver of your economy.
Exactly.
So it's not hurting.
It's not hurting.
Which means there's a lot more people driving.
Exactly.
Which means they have somewhere to go.
So.
And also another good indicator is your dollars. Like our dollar, it's recovered somewhat. Yes, our economy is hurting. It's been hurting since before the pandemic.
Yes, it has.
So, but our dollar is pretty steady at about 78 cents toward the American dollar. So if our economy is crashing, your dollar is going to sink.
Oh.
And it hasn't been. It's pretty steady.
Yeah.
And then you can also look at your stock markets.
And there's been steady growth.
Yes, like it's. You have to actually go back past the pandemic a little bit. If you've ever watched any of the stock markets, you follow it at all.
Yes.
It's constantly ebbing and flowing. And now, since 2008, it's kind of fluctuated quite a bit. Mm-hmm. The economy, there has been a lot of problem even since then.
Yeah.
And even before the pandemic, it's done this. But it hasn't gone, way down.
Yeah.
And that's a huge indicator of how bad the economy is doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not doing that. A lot of times, a lot of stocks are going up. So, you know, that's a good indicator of your economy as well. There's another one I was thinking of that you can look into of what's a good indicator of how well your economy is doing. But
Excuse me, guys.
Just even look at profits of all big businesses give annually or quarterly profits reports, especially if they're publicly traded. And so just look at most of them have done record profits.
Yes.
Now, people are so afraid of the big box stores. Well, a lot of them are driving the economy.
Exactly.
And they're bringing in record profits. So, you know, I don't know. I'm thinking if they're trying to crash the economy, they're not doing such a good job of it.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at people who are at home, who've been laid off, there's still a lot of people who can't work, especially in the tourism, travel. The airlines aren't doing so well.
No.
But, and same like charter buses, that's one industry that's not doing well.
That's taken a hit.
Stands to reason. So yes, there are portions of the economy that are not doing well, and that's travel is one of the first. I mean, I was in the travel industry, but it does take a hit. I mean, like 9/11, it took a hit, major hit. 2008, it took a major hit. So I mean, it does like if there's any major event like that, travel's one of the first and usually is hit the hardest. The tourism and hospitality industry.
That's
will it bounce
so
back?
true.
It will. Believe it or not, it will. It'll bounce back. It'll take time. Now,
Like it
granted,
didn't-
not all stores will be here, and that's a shame, you know.
You know, and
But again, it directly relates to people following the rules, and it would get these stores open faster.
so as you see, guys, everything we've been talking about directly correlates to
Right.
what our initial start of this
Right.
conversation was.
It relates.
And if everyone had followed the rules and continues to follow the rules and listens to what we're told, things will be normal.
Or as close as we can get
As
them.
close, the new normal, I guess.
Oh, I don't think we're going to stay like this. I know a lot of people do. But I think it's the temporary new normal.
Yes.
Like, you know, while this is around, or, you know, until everybody at least gets vaccinated, you know. But I think we could get to a point, just because we've seen other countries do
Of course.
that we can still live with this in maybe a modified way.
Yeah.
And that we can help the businesses, especially the small ones, because they need it the most.
Oh, certainly
you know,
they do.
But, like, don't be hanging out in groups of 50 or 100 people or having parties right now, you know?
Basic idea is, guys, smarten up. Smarten up.
We want our lives back.
Everyone wants their lives back. Everyone's
You know?
tired. Let's cut the right through to it. Everyone's tired. Everyone wants to get back to normal. And
Oh, and one other thing. Stop saying it's fear-mongering, and if you're afraid, stay at home. I can't talk for a lot of people, and I'm not going to. For me, it's not fear. I'm not afraid. I've got a good immune system, and I'm relatively healthy. I don't think I'd have to worry too much if I did get it, but I understand we don't know enough about this virus to know whether there have been perfectly healthy people who either died or have had severe consequences. So I'd rather not have that. So that's why I'd rather take the precautions. It's not about being afraid. I don't want to have lung damage or brain damage or have a limb amputated or anything like that, or die or end up on a ventilator, or anybody else I know. You know, so that's why I'm doing it. I'm not doing it because, I'm deathly afraid and I'm going to hide in my basement like I hear so much. You know, it's not that.
No.
It's, you know, it's just, it's common sense.
You know,
That's all.
And let's bring common sense back to the table.
Because let's face it, if we were afraid, we wouldn't go out. We still do.
Exactly.
So, you know.
Let's bring common sense back into the equation.
Right.
And let's do what we're supposed to do. Listen to what we're supposed to listen to. Stop listening to the extraneous garbage that is being told by these garbage websites.
Well, let's see. Let's talk about the woke people. You're talking about wake up. I hear that a lot. Wake up, wake up. Well, let's say that to you too. Don't tell people who actually are following the rules or whatever, or who are research or science based. You know, and I'm not talking listening to the media. I'm talking about doing like,
your own
doing your
reading.
actual own research. Well,
Yeah.
I say the same to you. Wake up, open your eyes, and do your own research. I'm not talking about just specific like Reddit or whatever. I'm talking about do legit research.
Of course,
from
exactly.
legit sites, not ones that have been discredited. You know, granted, there are some experts who disagree with things, and that's actually good. That's the basis of science. They should actually disagree because that's how discoveries get made.
Exactly, and that's
You
how we
know?
move things along in leaps and bounds. I may have had an original idea,
Right.
but you disagree with it. But
Right.
the premise is good,
Right.
but you take it, you tweak it,
Right.
and you move it forward.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's good to have different opinions.
Of course.
But don't think your side's absolute.
No.
That's why I'm saying I can say I'm relatively healthy. You can say you're relatively healthy. But I'm not going to say I'm never going to get this and I'm never going to have a severe case of it because I'm young. I'm not 80 and I'm not in the LTC or all that, because I don't know that definitively.
No, none of us do.
And you don't know that definitively. I mean, I don't know how many times I've read of people who were dead set against masks, dead set, like, didn't follow the rules,
Mm-hmm.
had parties, all this kind of stuff.
Oh, shoot. Look
And
what happened.
And then half their family got wiped out.
Yes.
And they were not 80. They were
No.
not sick. They were healthy,
Mm-hmm.
young even. And half their family's dead
Yeah, that's
because
it.
of it. And they regretted not following the rules. And they wanted their story out there
Mhm.
to say, this isn't a joke. And I can personally tell you, I don't know personally themselves, but my friends, there's at least 4 people I know who are dead from COVID. So if you say, oh, I don't know anybody who's died from it, well, now you do. You know somebody who knows somebody who's died from it. And none of them were old, none of them were in their LTC, and all of them were healthy. So, yes, it does happen. And you don't know if it would happen to you or
that's
your
it.
family.
I think this is probably going to be an ongoing discussion.
Oh, sure.
And until people actually smarten up and listen up and toe the line, we're going to be still having these talks.
I think like we were talking about, goes back to that, is it's not necessarily a bad thing to question what people do or what your government's telling you or what experts are telling you, because like we were saying, it's actually a good thing that they don't always agree, you know, because things can change and
Of course.
change can be good.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to things like this, where, I mean, the entire world is battling this,
Yes.
you know, and every country's experts are saying this. There has to be something to it. It's not just 1 or 2 saying this, or what. It's the entire world. So that, I mean, that kind of gives a credence that maybe if we followed what experts are saying, even if you don't trust the ones in your own country or your own city, trust Fauci if you do, or trust whatever if you do. I mean, it won't hurt, and then maybe we'll get our lives back sooner rather than maybe 2022 or 2023, you know?
Well, this has been a good episode tonight.
It has
Thank
been.
you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
I'm glad to have you here, and I hope you come back and hang out with me again
I
next
will.
week. And you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Let us know how you feel about this. Are you one of the folks that are following the rules, doing what you're supposed to, or are you a young person or a...
They're not even so young.
No, not even young. Not even young. Like, are you in that spectrum where you're like, I'm not doing this. I'm gonna live my life. We want to hear from both sides of this.
Yep.
We want to hear what you have to say.
And why do you think that?
And why do you think that? Because the only way we understand each other is if we learn to listen and talk to each other.
Right.
Like we're doing today.
Well, because I think instead of people calling each other names and saying, like, you know, if you're going back to the political thing, but it's not even really a political thing with this, but, you know, I know a lot of those who are on the conservative side will call the names of liberals and vice versa, or even anti-maskers to mask or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're sheeple or whatever. You hear the names. You're actually not listening to each other if you're calling each other names.
Exactly.
You know, you're actually diminishing your argument by saying, oh, you're a sheeple, or you got your head in the sand, or you're afraid. But I have seen a few really good conversations.
Exactly.
And we've had them with people who do disagree with our stance. Because we listen and we respect what they're saying.
That's
if you can respectfully say why you believe the way you do, I'm open to listen to you. You know, and I hope you're open to listening to what we have to say too, and why we think the way we do. We don't have to put each other down.
No.
If we actually listen to each other, that's how change happens.
So let's close with this. Let's open the dialogue between each other. Let's listen to what each other has to say, but truly listen.
Right. You don't have to agree with each other.
We don't have to agree, but
at least listen and at least understand why.
Because if we can meet halfway with people, then we can better understand people's position.
Right.
We can make changes for the better.
Right. That's the only way to make change. You can't stay stuck in your opinion, because then nothing progresses, nothing changes.
Because look at where we are right now.
Right. And that's why we are in this position right now.
So, guys.
And we will stay here until people maybe understand.
Yes.
Why we're in this position.
So, again, guys, thank you for tuning in to Coffee in the Chat Extended. I'm Doug. This is Four Towers. And we thank you again.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Tune in next week and we'll have another great conversation. Have a good night.
Bye.